When we talk about restoration in an estuary like this here, what are we talking about?
What we're talking about is trying to restore some of the original functions of ecology that happen here, because as Dennis was saying earlier, the changes that have taken place here in the last 200 years are so extreme that we can't hope to recreate what was here before.
Okay, but you say we're going to try to restore ecological function. Can you explain that for me, please?
Yeah, what we want to have happen is we want this estuary to retain some of the things that used to be here. So what used to be here was a lot of wetlands, shallow channels, more curve to the channels. And what we want to have happen here is some places like that, specifically so that young salmon can come in and have a place where they're sheltered. They can find some food, they can find some shelter from predators, and they can also have a place to rest while their bodies adjust from being in freshwater to saltwater, which is something that takes some time for them to do.
So by function, you mean providing these functions or providing these places for the salmon to do that?
Right, yeah.
The function is the movement of the salmon through the estuary. All right. And what is being done here at this site?
Well, right now we're standing between two different sloughs. A slough is just a little backwater area. We actually brought in some heavy equipment and dug out 3 sloughs at each end of this. There's one down at that end, and then there are 2 down at this end. So at high tide, there's shallow water. There are some emergent plants in there that allow the fish to hide, provide a habitat for their food prey. And they can kind of hang out in there, and they don't have to worry about, for example, sea lions coming up after them, because there are sea lions that will come down here. And however, the herons like to fish in those places too. So it also supports the food chain. Those baby salmon are food for other things too, but at the same time, they have a good place to rest and hide.
So they brought in big equipment. What sort of equipment are you talking about?
Like backhoes and bulldozers. I mean, the Army Corps of Engineers came in and literally just dug out what used to be here.
More than 7th graders with shovels.
Definitely more than that, yes.
Okay, so they dug out these like fingers into the land. You're calling that a slough, and the fish will be able to go in there. They find protection.
That's right. The other big thing that's happened here is we've removed a lot of invasive species, and that's kind of an ongoing situation. As we've talked to those students, they're still taking out blackberry and scotch broom and morning glory that are a problem on the site, English ivy as well. And we've planted a lot of native plants. Again, as Dennis said, the native plants need to be overhanging the water so that there are insects that can fall in. It completes the whole ecosystem. It's not just the salmon. You know, the salmon need to have clean water, but they also need to have food. They need to have the insects that they eat and the various different things that they need to eat. And all those things need a habitat as well. So when we're restoring the habitat, we're not really recreating what used to be here, but we're putting as much back as what we know used to be here. And then we have volunteers come out and monitor the site and make sure that things are happening, make sure that the plants that we planted are surviving, they're getting enough water during our hot summers, that they are being used by the species that we want to see. And those volunteers will report back to us and let us know what species they've observed using the site, what plants are growing, what plants aren't growing so well, where there needs to be some weeding happening, or if there's any other concern about the site that we need to know about so that we can come back and make sure everything's going okay. And we have seen the baby salmon using the sluice, so we know that part of it at least is working, and that's really exciting.
Boy, that's good news. But I suppose this takes a lot of money. How much are we talking about, and where did you get it?
Well, these 3 sites together cost about $3.5 million. And but each site individually,
$3.5 million for this little stretch of river.
Yes. And actually $2.3 million about was actually the site over there. You can see where those that riprap is along the shoreline, and that railing is. The problem with that particular site is that the soil was contaminated, so they needed to dispose of it properly, and that really jacks up the price of the project. This site right behind us, immediately where we are, actually only cost around $10,000 because it was mainly a matter of purchasing the plants to put in here. We didn't do any earthworking in this particular spot. So it really varies from site to site how much it's going to cost. But when you're talking about actually recreating, digging out things that used to be here, that's very expensive to do.
And how long is it going to take before we'll be able to eat the Dungeness crabs or the flounder that live here?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not sure if anybody wants to, really put a timeline on that question. But, hopefully within a couple generations, like BJ was saying, hopefully, my children too, or my grandchildren will be able to eat some of this and not worry about what's in it.
Stephanie, we've got some students right over behind us. They've been working inside of this fenced area. Let's go ask them some questions. Hi, my name is Alex. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Emily.
Emily, and are you also a student at Madison Middle School?
Yes.
What kind of work are you and your friends doing here today?
We're keeping the geese out of the area where the natural plants are living.
Okay. You mean these fences keep the geese out?
Yeah, and the strings keep them out also from the top.
Uh-huh. The strings that cross the top to keep the geese from flying in.
Yes,
And why do we want to keep geese out of here?
because they eat the natural native plants that used to grow here, and they're regrowing them right now.
So these plants wouldn't be able to live here if we didn't have these fences. Is that what you mean? Because the geese would eat them?
Pretty much.
And are these plants that just grew here naturally, or were they planted?
They were planted by the people who are working here.
Oh, I see. And you and your friends, what are they doing right now up against the fence there?
We're cleaning off the fence so it's better for the animals who live around here. It's more better for them for living.
I see. Just cleaning up the fence, taking off these plants that are hanging on here and things.
Yes.
It looks like these are the same kind of plants that we found in the water down there, but these are all dried up. Looks like the high tide probably comes all the way up here. I guess we'd be flooded at high tide.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we better get the job done quick. Thanks a lot for your help. You're doing a great job.